Shalom, Yasharala. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ruach HaKodesh. Double, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson, which is pretty much like a remake of this video, but nevertheless, I want to jump to this here lesson dealing with how the Lord is going to return, all right? And basically what Esau is preparing with the space program, all right? So what you call so-called UFOs are actually written about in the scriptures, all right? These are actually what the scriptures called the chariots, all right? The chariots of Israel, all right? So we're going to go into this Psalms 104 and verse 3 first, just to give, well, we'll start at verse 1. You know, just to give a little backdrop of what these chariots are, all right? They go by many different names, the cloud, whirlwind, and things like that. But it says, Psalms 104 and 1, Bless Yahweh, O my soul, O Yahweh, my power. Thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who covereth thyself with light as with a garment, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, all right? Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, all right? So there you go. When you start seeing these words that we're going to get into about these clouds aren't talking about what you see in the sky, you know, those things that you see in the sky, like, you know, regular clouds, you know, people think that the Lord is going to come back on a cloud or whatever, whatnot. Like when you get in the airplane, you fly through the clouds, all right? That's not like something that you can actually walk on or anything like that, all right? These words are, which we're going to get into, you know, these words, they actually mean something different, all right? It says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the water, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, all right, who maketh his angel spirits, his ministers, a flaming fire, all right? So let's go into this here word chariot real quick, because it's a real simple, you know, definition here, all right? In fact, let me go to this word clouds. Yeah, all right, so let's go back into this here word chariot, all right, which to make it the clouds his chariots, right? So let's go into this here word chariot. All right, rakav, all right, it says chariot, all right, it says a, right, so this is his vehicles, all right? So contrary to popular belief, you know, the Lord, you know, and the angels, they have vehicles that they travel in, all right? You can go into Ezekiel chapter 1, and it breaks the whole thing down for you right there, all right? You know, what's inside of those so-called UFOs and what they look like and everything else like that, all right? So now we're going to go from there to Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7, all right? This is Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, all right? This is going back into the same thing we're just going into. The Lord who maketh his clouds his chariots, all right? So it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. All right, so when the Lord come back, he's going to come back in a vehicle, all right? These heavenly vehicles, all right? This is what the world only calls UFOs, all right? So it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. They also well because of him. So you have to take this into account, all right? You know, just imagine you start seeing a UFO out in the sky, right? You know what I'm saying? First of all, it's going to be televised. It's going to be all over the whole earth. They're going to be freaking out because they don't know what's in those things, man. They don't know if they come peaceably or whatever, whatnot. Plus, they got all these movies showing you about a so-called alien invasion and so on, which this is all going to happen, you know. But nevertheless, you know, we understand what's inside these chariots and why they're coming, all right? These chariots are coming to deliver the elect of Israel and destroy these other nations and basically take the dominion away from them, all right? So we're going to go from there. Let me go back real quick to Isaiah 47. This is, well, I'm going to just read verse 3. Isaiah 47 and 3, it says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. All right, and this is going into basically America, right? So when you go up to the top, it says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground, there is no throne. O daughter of the Chaldeans, thou shalt be no no more called tender and delicate. Make bare the legs, uncover the thighs, pass over the rivers. So this is, all the so-called secret dirt of America is now being exposed, all right? All the wickedness that they've done and so on and so forth, all right? Going into verse 3, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen, all right? Again, going into the wickedness of America, the slavery, rape, robbery, and murder, the regime change, and all the wickedness that America's been doing, all right? It says, I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. For our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. All right. So basically, let me read verse 5. Sit thou in a silence and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Lord is coming back to render judgment upon this here place called Babylon the Great, which is known, to the world as America. All right. But nevertheless, the Lord said, I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. When Yahushua came the first time, he was in a mortal flesh, just like the scriptures say, this mortal must put on immortality, this corruptible must put on incorruption. All right, we're going to be changed in a twinkle of an eye, so on and so forth. All right, that's when we put onto our spiritual bodies, when we, like the scriptures also say, the angels that left their first estate, all right, and they was kept in everlasting chains of darkness. All right, that's us right now in this here flesh. But when the Lord come back, that those elect that's going to be changed, that's not going to wind up dying. They're going to wind up getting spiritual bodies, all right, and they're going to have spiritual powers and everything else like that. They're going to be like how Yahushua when he returns, all right? Now, Yahushua is not going to return, like it says in verse 3, it says, I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. Meaning that, let's just say Yahushua walked up on the scene and Esau saw him and they decided to, take a sniper rifle to him and get a headshot, That's not going to work out for you, man. All right, because again, the Lord said, I'm going to not meet you as a man. He's not coming back in a regular mortal body or anything like that, man. This is not going to work, man. All right, he's going to come back in his great power and his great glory, man. All right, in that spiritual body, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do against him, all right? So we're going to go from there to the book of, let me see. Oh, we go back to Revelation 12. In fact, let me get something else first. This is Revelation 19 and verse 11. It says, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. All right, now white horse is representation of what? Pure power. White is representation of the pure, and the horse is the power. Just like you measure your car today, what's driving your chariot today is that engine, and they calculate the power in it based off of so-called horsepower. Just like in the olden days, you have one horse-drawn chariot, that's 1 horsepower. You got 20 horses drawn a chariot, that's 20 horsepower, It's the same thing. The Lord's coming back with pure power. That upon him was called faithful and true, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. So contrary to popular belief, the Lord is not coming back to send flowers and hugs and kisses and so on and so forth. The Lord is coming back to take vengeance, all right? He's coming back to judge and to make war. As many crowns is because Yahushua is coming to take dominion away from these other nations and these Edomites, all right? Because the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Esau is ultimately ruling. These other nations also have their, smaller dominions up under Esau or whatever, whatnot. But nevertheless, Jacob or Israel, is up under all these other nations. All right. And so now all the heathens had their time to rule, but now it's time for wickedness to be put out of the earth and now righteousness to reign. All right. Like the scriptures say, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. All right. So now the earth was given into the hands of the Edomites. Now we're seeing the downfall of their kingdom. So now we know that the Lord is about to return and now restore the kingdom unto the children. It's because why? He's uprooting the kings of the earth. It says he had in his Salak, verse 12, his eyes were as a written that no man knew but himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of the Most High. And the armies which were in heaven followed upon him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. All right, so obviously there ain't no horses up in heaven. Right about is those chariots coming down. All right, it says in the armies which were in heaven. All right, just like when Yahushua say, hey, don't you know I got power to bring like 12 legions down right here, right now, bro? You know what I'm saying? Those chariots. Hey, when Yahushua was taken up, they say, why are you gazing up into heaven like this? The same Yahushua, the way he was taken up, same way he gonna come back down. All right, in these chariots, man. All right. But now he's coming back with the whole heavenly host of these chariots, man. There's a lot of videos going around right now with just, a multitude of chariots flying over, man. So the Lord is making evident. This is why, they say, and all nations shall see him and will. Right now, you get a small glimpse of it with just people with their cell phones, their thing. All right. Then, then you're not going to be able to hide it, man. You're going to just walk outside your house and be able to look up and see these damn chariots just sitting over top of you. There's a movie, District 9, that was like that, where they had these chariots sitting over top of them, I believe for like some years on in or whatever, whatnot. Then one day they started opening up on their ass, man. All right. But nevertheless, this is what's going on, where you're starting to see more and more chariot sightings, man. All right. Verse 15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and treadeth the winepress with the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty God. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. All right. Keep going. Verse 17, and I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowl that fly in the midst of heaven, come gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great power, that you may be able to eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and all them that sit on them, and the flesh of men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his armies. All right. So basically, this is going to all happen in the midst of World War III. All right. In the midst of World War III, the nations are going to be fighting each other, just like how Ronald Reagan said it, man. This is all going according to prophecy, man. Ronald Reagan said, what happens if, there was some kind of outside external threat, some alien threat. All right. We would realize how small, our differences are amongst one another, and we will band together to fight that outside alien threat. All right. And so this is actually what they're doing, man. They've had from way back in the day, they had, what is it called? SDI, the Space Defense Initiative, the Star Wars program. All right. And now they got basically the Space Command or whatever, whatnot, man. It's all the same thing, man. They've been having weapons out in outer space, man. All right. And contrary to popular belief, some people will say, oh, that's to fight certain satellites or whatever, whatnot from these other nations and, disable their GPS and stuff like that. But no, man, they're doing this to fight the Lord, man. All right. It's already written in the scriptures, man. All right. Let me go from there to Revelation 12 now. Revelation 12 and 7. It says, and there's 4 heavens. You have the first heaven where you have the birds and the airplanes and things like that that's in the sky. All right. You have another heaven, which is like outer space. All right. Then you have another heaven, which is like the spiritual realm where the Most High is at and Yahushua is at. All right. Then you have like pretty much like a condition. All right. Just like you can say the children of Israel right now, they're in their hell while Esau is in his heaven. All right. And soon we're about to go into the kingdom of heaven, which the kingdom of heaven is going to be here on earth. We're just going to be in a different condition. We're not going to be the slaves of the earth no more, man. We're going to be on top and ruling the earth. All right. But nevertheless, this heaven is talking about in the sky where the birds and the planes fly, man. All right. It says, and there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Esau and his armies, man. All right. Esau, NATO, and the EU and all of them, man. All right. They're going to, with their fighter jets and everything like that, man. They're going to wind up fighting against the Lord, man. All right. It says, verse 7 again, Revelation 12 and 7. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was there place found any more in heaven. All right. And the part where it says there was neither any more place found in heaven is meaning that he's taking out his rulership. Like we just read, the Lord was coming to take the crowns off the heads of these kings, man. All right. The popular Christian dogma would be that, oh, this is where the devil rebelled in heaven and through the earth, see who he may devour, man. You can also read about that in the book of Job, man. All right. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole earth. He was cast into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. All right. Talking about Esau, Edom, man. This is the end all be all for him. This is how he's going to wind up being taken out of power, man. All right. Based off of the fact that, in the middle of World War III, the Lord's going to come back and intervene. All right. So let me go from there to this is 2 Ezra 13 and 1. All right. This is going basically into like the movie Independence Day. All right. 2 Ezra 13 and 1. And it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. All right, it's talking about when Yahushua returns, all right? It says he waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, meaning those chariots that he's coming back with, all right? And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him, all right? Just like, hey, man, when them chariots start coming after your ass, you're going to be scared, man, all right? Any and everybody, you start seeing this big-ass right now, you know, they start coming down on you or whatever, whatnot, and start shining the light. It says, verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filled the worlds with Tom Cruise. All right, you see those damn sound or whatever, whatnot, then these laser beams come up out of there. All right, and start zapping people, man. All right, verse 5, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of the number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. All right, and again, this is going to be in the midst of World War III, which will, let me just jump down real quick before I forget. This is verse... was it 31? Okay, let me just start from verse 31, read on down. And one shall undertake to fight against another, all right? A nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. This is going into World War III, all right? The all-out chaos, everything just chaotic everywhere, right? In the midst of all this, because there's going to be a time of trouble like never before, even unto the same day. All right, since there was a nation even until now. All right, you're going to have everything going wrong, man. You're going to basically have the purge going through the streets, martial law kicking in the doors, you know, the government, so on and so forth, plus World War III on the other side of the earth, you know, in the Middle East and everything like that going on. But in the midst of all of this, you're going to see the chariots come back, man. All right, so it says, and one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. All right, so you're gonna have the physical versus the spiritual realm. All right, when the Lord come back in them chariots, all right, versus Esau and all his technology. All right. Well, let me read verse 32. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I've showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. Again, you know, talking about Yahushua. That's what, you know, was talking about in this here massive chariot. Verse 33. And when the people shall hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, and thou sawest them willing to come and overcome him by fighting. Basically, we're going to go back up because it's going to go back into it again. But nevertheless, just showing the point that this is in the midst of World War III. All right, like you know, Ronald Reagan wound up saying, man, they would put their differences aside to basically fight against this outside alien threat. All right, and this is what their plan is to do, is to fight Yahweh. So let me read verse 5 again. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of the number from the four winds of heaven to out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. And I would have seen the region. All right, talking about how big this chariot was, all right, because it was from side to side, you know, as far as your peripheral could see, man. All right, it's like if you look on YouTube, look up what a shelf cloud looks like. When you see them clouds rolling in, it like a big ass chariot, but it take up the whole sky, man. You don't see one end of it to the other end of it, all right? Or like in the movie Independence Day, when they first seen that chariot, if you were standing between them buildings, you look up, it looked like the whole sky is covered, man. You can't see from one end of the chariot to the other, and you just see chariot all over the place, man. All right, that's how big this thing was. Verse 6, and I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. And I would have seen the region of the place wherein the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid and get durst fight. You know, and dealing with this, you know, I was speaking with one of the brothers the other day about this, but nevertheless, hey man, you know about the new Chinese fighter jet, the 5th generation one, and the Russian one, which is like the same plane. They got artificial intelligence in them planes. They can fly them planes with AI without pilots, all right? The F-35, they're trying to work on that now. They've been working on it, but they ain't got it yet. But nevertheless, as the Lord is allowing these Edomites to increase, he's actually putting a spirit on these Edomites to increase their weaponry right now, man. This is why you're seeing laser weapons being developed. This is why you're seeing AI, drones, robots and all this shit that they got coming out now. You know what I'm saying? Hypersonic missiles and everything like that, man. All right. The reason that they're getting all this is the Lord is putting a spirit on them. All right. Because first of all, none of these people are a match for what the Lord got for them to begin with. The Lord won a real fight, man. All right. But nevertheless, it says, and after this, I beheld and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid and get durst fight. They're going to see all this and they're going to be afraid and they're not going to really want to fight the Lord, man. All right. All it's going to take is for them to start intercepting one of these chariots or whatever, whatnot, and shoot a nuclear missile at it and see that well, hell, there's a video, and I was speculating off of this or whatever, whatnot, with their military, with they fighter jets or whatever, whatnot. But every time they get up there, their weapon systems are disabled, man. All right, every time they get a lock onto these chariots or whatever, whatnot, their weapon systems are disabled and they can't really fire off or whatever, whatnot, man. The chariots are also known to disable nuclear missiles inside the silos or set the countdown for them to launch, man. All right, so look, man, these people might even want to so-called want to, they in their fighter jets wanting to fight the Lord, or out there fighting the fight, and then all of a sudden they see the Lord come back in these chariots and get afraid, try to fly away, and the Lord put the damn spirit on their ass, like, all right, so-called hijack your computer systems in your plane and bring that shit to me anyway, man. The Lord is gonna catch Esau up, man. All right, but nevertheless, he's no match for the Lord, man. All right, this is Esau and his spiritual power being raised up with AI, lasers, and all that shit like that. All right, but nevertheless, quantum computers and all that stuff like that. All right, 5G and all these different technologies he's coming out with. But Esau's gonna need all of this and more just to, not even have an even playing field, but just to be somewhere in the ballpark, man. But the Lord is gonna annihilate them, man. All right, so continuing on, verse 9, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he had sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, the great tempest, and it fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up. An innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, only dust and the smell of smoke. And when I saw this, I was afraid. Jumping back up to verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth fell when it filled the fire. So going back down to verse 10 and 11, it's describing basically laser beams. All right, this is what the Lord, one of his weapons that he's going to use is these laser beams, man. Concentrated heat. That's why he talks. And they're gonna all be mixed together, man. All right, it's just concentrated heat, these laser beams that the Lord's gonna be shooting out these chariots, man. All right, if you want to get a visualization of that, you know what I'm saying? Like you read, let me read 10 and 11. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue cast out sparks and a tempest. All right, going back to that movie Independence Day, when you see that chariot open up for the first time, and then people on top of that building with their signs, and that chariot opens up, and then that destroy that whole building. All right, it says all they were mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, only dust and the smell of smoke. And when I saw this, I was afraid. All right, and you go back to 9/11, you think about how all that material that was in those buildings, all right, all the metal, all the concrete, all the wood, plastic, rubber, people that was in there, within seconds, all right, less than free fall speed, all of that material was turned into what? Dust and scene out of the movie World of Worlds when them chariots was using the laser beams and zapping people, man. All right, and then Tom Cruise is running and he's just being covered in dust, man. You actually saw that happen in 9/11, man. And just looking at that, hey, they could have used a damn laser weapon, one of those what they call a direct energy weapon, basically like a laser beam. You know what I'm saying? And in a second, all that building just turned, all that matter turned into dust and the smell of smoke, man. All right. So let me go from there to probably can read this from the first verse. Isaiah 31:1. It says, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and horsemen because they are very strong, and that look not upon the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. All right, because you gotta have, dealing with our people first and foremost, they're gonna want to put their trust into America, man. You talk to especially these Edomites, oh, we got the best military, the greatest military, nobody can take us down, and so on and so forth, and everything like that, man. All right, but nevertheless, like the scriptures say, woe unto you that put your trust into Egypt, man. I was watching a video the other day about if all the nations together came against America, basically to go to war against America, and only America without NATO and the EU, all right, was able to fight them all off, who would actually win? And looking at the shit, technically America would win, based off of that they have the world's largest navy, and not all these other nations really have a navy quite like that, and their navies aren't based to be able to go around the world. All their conflicts is right there in the regional area. You know, for America, all their problems are going to be on the other side of the earth. So they're going to, primarily they're going to need to have shit to be able to start a war from over there. So that would give them the advantage, that and their Air Force, all right? So, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, the Lord is going to have this thing happen, all right? He's going to have it, again, people think that their military is so mighty, but ultimately when NATO and the EU come against America and everything like that, they're going to be fighting in the midst of World War III with all these other nations, all right? But ultimately, the Lord is going to come and put Esau down for the final count, man, all right, with these chariots, all right? Jump down to verse 3. It says, now the Egyptians are men and not power. Their horses are flesh and not spirit. All right, going back into what? Like I said, they have these AI planes. They have AI technology, these DARPA robots and so on and so forth, laser weapons and all this technology or whatever, whatnot, man. So when you look at it, that's their spiritual power on the left-hand side, but it's all mechanics and things like that, man. All right, the EMP blast would knock all that shit out, render it all useless because they don't have electricity no more, man. All right, but ultimately the Lord is in control of all these things, man. So he can just turn all that shit off all at once, man. Spiritual vehicles, basically, So it says, going back to verse 3, now the Egyptians are men and not power, and their horses are flesh and not spirit. When Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, both he and they that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they all shall fail together. So don't be putting your trust in here to save you. Oh, they got nuclear weapons, they got all this and they got all that. So if we see UFOs or whatever, whatnot, call the police and the military will handle it. We'll be safe. We'll be all right. Nah, man. All right, first of all, Lord willing, myself and the brothers, that preach this here word and those that listen, we all a part of the elect. Those things come to deliver us, man. All right, and take out our enemy, man. All right, this is only a threat and a danger to the Edomites, man, and these other nations, all right? Keep going, verse 4. For thus Yahweh has spoken unto me, like as the lion and the young lion roaring on his prey, when the multitude of shepherds is called forth against him, he will not be afraid of their voice, nor abase himself for the noise of them. So shall Yahweh of hosts come down to fight for Mount Zion and for the hill thereof. Again, like I said, man, when we see these chariots, man, you shouldn't be afraid. You see so-called UFOs coming down and shit like that, and they start, hey, let's just say they start fucking some shit up. All right, let me read the end of verse 4 again. It says, he will not be afraid of their voice, nor abase himself for the noise of them. All right, talking about Esau and his weaponry and all this stuff that's coming down. It says, so shall Yahweh of hosts come down to fight for Mount Zion and for the hill thereof. So the Lord gonna fight for us. As birds flying, so will Yahweh of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over it, he will preserve it, man. All right, so the Lord gonna come in and defend us. All right, gonna send Yahweh and the angels back in the chariot. Also deliver us with these same vehicles, man. All right, you might be out and about running or whatever, whatnot, getting chased down by some tanks or whatever, whatnot, fighter jets, whatever, man. DARPA robots, and the Lord send these chariots to start fucking all that shit up, man. All right, then all at the end all be all, you still out here and about going through all these different plagues. Then all of a sudden you look up and you start seeing nuclear missiles start raining down on your ass, and then that's when you supposed to, hey, call hello, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. It's time to go home, baby. You know what I'm saying? That's when them chariots are gonna come and deliver us, man. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. That's what's gonna happen, man. The Lord, beam me up, Scotty. That's how we going home, man. All right. So we're gonna go from there. A couple more to go real quick to the book of Zechariah, chapter 5. We're gonna start at the top. Then I turned and I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. And the length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. All right. And back in these days, they didn't have anything really. They didn't have airplanes and stuff like that flew in the sky or anything like that. And it was way more clear in the sky. And chemtrails all in the sky and light pollution and all this extra stuff that's going on in the sky, so where you really can't see what's up there. You know what I'm saying? Especially living out in the middle, look up and see, straight up into the sky. It's a clear sky, man. All right, so they knew when they seen these chariots flying over and everything like that. Just like when the Lord came and delivered us from out of Egypt, man. That cloud by the cloud by day and that fire by night, man. All right, those other nations, their heart was melting because they seen the destruction, they heard about it, and they seen that the children of Israel was being led by this big ass chariot, man. Nobody really wanted to fuck with them after that, man. Then he saith unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the whole face of the earth, and for everyone that stealeth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it, and everyone on that sweareth shall be cut off on that side according to it. All right, going into, you know, Esau stole us, opened out the house of the prisoners. All right, Yahushua coming back to set the prisoners free, roughly paraphrasing. All right, and then there's also a law, if you was to steal a man and he be found in your hand, you was gonna be put to death, man. Esau is literally gonna be caught red-handed, man. All right. Verse 4, and I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. All right, that's Esau. And into the house of him that swear falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and it shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. All right, so, you know, the ICBM missiles, the nukes, and then also the chariots is what's going to wind up finally taking this here place up out of his position. All right, we grab one more. We're going to close 66 and 15. It says, 66:15, for behold, the Lord will come with many. All right, so basically, you know, this is when the Lord comes back. He's gonna come back with these chariots, all right, to render judgment and make war against these other nations, man. All right, and he's coming back in what they call so-called UFOs, man. All right, so what the world calls so-called UFOs, man. Would you go on YouTube and you see all the videos in the sky, and you start seeing these lights and whatever, whatnot, and you know it ain't like what you've ever seen before. Hey, just know that your salvation is nearer than what you've ever believed before, man. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord, on this here lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth and that root well. And salutation and much love for your octane pushing his truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.